everyone, this is Mariel Weiss with Remax Realty Group, and I wanted to discuss property lines and boundaries. The summer months are really when we're out and about enjoying our yard, and when we're doing so, sometimes we can come across situations that cause us disputes with our neighbors, about where our property ends and where theirs starts and that sort of thing. And it certainly doesn't help that when you put your property address into Google, up will pop a variety of different websites that sometimes show property lines, and those aren't always accurate. The only place to really accurately describe where your property boundaries are is the deed. And that also describes easements or special covenants that would restrict your use or right to build upon that property. Most of us are not able to understand the lingo that's used because it's longitude and latitude and things like that. And that's where you'd probably like to have a survey done, and that's where someone comes out who specializes in understanding those measurements, and they will mark your property boundaries and pin them or stake them, whatever you request from them. That's really the best way to easily be able to tell where your boundaries are. Now, if you're purchasing a property where the boundaries are not clearly defined, you really need to verify for yourself where the property ends. And, of course, homeowners are going to pass down this information and tell you, oh, well, it goes to this bush over here and those trees back there, and that's one thing. If you don't have big plans for the property, okay, that may be fine. You may not really need a survey. But if you have specific plans to install fencing or to do an addition, or you just really want to know, then I'd recommend having a survey done. And they really, the cost really depends on the size of the property that you're looking at. If you live in a townhome community, it would probably be a waste of money to spend to have a survey done. But if you have, several acres, or you just have, the desire to know where they end, probably a good idea to do a survey. Now, if you're purchasing a property that already has a fence, you can't necessarily assume that it is correctly and lawfully installed on your property. One way you can be proactive is to check the seller's property disclosure and see what it says in there as far as when the fence was installed, if permits were obtained, and definitely ask the seller if they had a survey done before they installed the fence. And if they did, ask them where those pins are on the ground, and if you could have a copy of it perhaps, for your records, so that way you can pass it on to the next owner. And then another thing to keep in mind, and I had a client deal with this situation, that's why I bring it up, is that when you go online to those websites, Zillow, for example, and you put in your address and you see where the property lines are, those aren't really accurate. That's just kind of like a ballpark to the best of Zillow's guess. So don't take that as the end-all be-all. You really should have a survey done in that instance. So if you have any questions about this topic or anything else, or anything I can help you with, as far as recommendation or anything, feel free to reach out to me. Thanks.